so intrigued by our conversation, and it was funny because you reminded me of myself a lot of your story and your background. I was like, man, this guy is a lot like me. So you guys are in for a real treat today. It's Mortgage Matters with the Dalai Lama. I penned that new name actually recently. So I'm the Dalai Lama instead of the Dalai Lama. And we're here to give people and our guests and our people watching just really good content, not just about mortgages, life, specifically talking about our little southwest corner of paradise here in our world. And I think I would count this as probably one of the top 3 places in the world to live. And you have the blessings, in a sense, to be the unicorn of the area because you've been born and raised here and you've seen where it's started pretty much and where it's grown to. I mean, so I'm really excited to hear your perspective on that. And not only that, Barry, you are an expert in real estate, not only as in real estate sales, but an investor, a developer. So you have a lot of great insights for people that are looking to come down here, move, buy a second home, investment property. So you kind of have you encircle the whole package, if you will. And it's easier for me to say that than you to say that.
I hope I don't let everybody down. I mean, it's just like, man, that's not. Where'd you get this from? Did you AI that or something? I don't know. No chat GPT.
AI helps out a lot with that stuff. But I also have the blessing. I know your son-in-law, so he shares a lot of.
Michael.
He gives me a lot of nuggets, and I ask him questions. So all good stuff. But and then he was the one that actually connected us to sit down and talk. So the first time that we did. So Michael's a great guy. You get a great son-in-law. So he gives us some good insight. And I want to start by saying, I want to talk about the roots of growing here. I think one of the things that is very cool is your father being in World War II. And being from the Midwest, right? Mm-hmm. And he was a crop duster, my understanding, right? That's what
they had a crop duster on the farm.
On the farm that he flew, which was part of why was it the Army?
Army Air Corps at the time, which is now the United States Air Force.
Air Force. Yeah. Knew that he had some history of flying. It wasn't even that he was flying his family plane that was in the backyard, right?
Yeah.
And brought him into the war. But through those, the greatest generation of all time, right? And you were raised by that generation, and he actually picked up the family and moved them here to Florida, which is why. But I want you to kind of start there on just the roots of where it all started and some of the things that he instilled in you, because I think based on our conversation, you had even mentioned you wanted to go on that path of the military.
Right.
Because of probably looking up to your dad as your hero probably your whole life. You're like, I'm going to follow this man's footsteps. But he had a different plan for you, which is where we are today. And you're pretty much the mayor who's not the mayor of the area, right?
No politics today, Chris.
Right, no politics. Well, I'd be president of the board of realtors. You're involved in many different nonprofits, and you're very influential in the area. So thanks for coming on, and I'm going to give you the floor. But let's just talk about those early roots on where it all started.
Well, that's a long time ago, first of all. I was instilled, first of all, and by the way, I'll back up a little bit. This is very apropos. We're here on the 80th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy. It was this week.
Yeah,
and watching what's been going on in the news segments, and I'm not a news guy, but I'm watching some of the stuff that's going on, and it gives me some insight of what the men and the women back here at home at the time, and there were women there too, went through. And it kind of is the cornerstone for the rest of their lives. Even though they were 16, 17, 18 years old or whatever their age was going into there, what they were seeing at that young age really became the cornerstone for how they were going to raise their families, and they didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So, yes, I was blessed. Dad was, he enlisted. He went in. He was going to go into the motor pool. He was going to be a mechanic. And they said, why do you think you qualify as a mechanic? He said, I can fix anything. I'm a farmer. I can fix anything. I can grow anything. So he thought either he's going into food or whatever.
Okay.
They said, well, what do you work on? He said, well, tractors, cars, trucks, whatever, airplanes. And they go, you work on aircraft? So maybe we're going to send you over to the flight line and you're going to work there. He said, well, yeah. And they go, well, what experience do you have fixing aircraft? He goes, well, we'd take them out of the barn, we'd fix them, and whatever was wrong with them, we'd take them up, make sure they were safe, and then we'd bring it back down and ready for the pilot. And they said, what? And he thought, oh, I'm not supposed to fly without a license. They said, no, congratulations. We're commissioning you over right now. 6 weeks later, he was behind the stick of a B-24 bomber.
Wow.
and they assigned him to the European theater. Spent some time in Africa, Italy, and then, of course, Germany. So it was tough, to be honest with you, having a mom and a dad, because my dad was 51 when I was born. He'd be, 103 this year?
Yeah.
We lost mom a couple of years ago. She'd be going on 94 pretty soon.
Okay.
So what was tough about it is all my friends had parents that were half that age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here I am, a young kid, not recognizing anything, 9, 10, 11 years old. My friends are making fun of me because they thought it was my grandfather. They asked what happened to my parents. Was I adopted? And so I kind of resented that.
Yeah.
Right? So I had a conversation with my dad one time on the Rod and Reel Pier, 'cause I was born and raised on Emery Island, North Shore Drive. So I'm out there. Frank Cavendish was out there fishing, and I'm sitting there, very, Norman Rockwell-ish, if you will. I said, Dad, what were you thinking? What were you thinking having a kid this age? And he says, let me think about that, son. He goes, well, after the war, and I retired from Korea, because he was also Korea, Sabre pilot.
Okay.
He said, came to Anna Maria, most beautiful place on earth. I said, yeah, it is. Those sunsets are gorgeous. I said, yeah, they are. He goes, so's your mom. I literally put my fingers in my hair. I'm like, no, you're talking about my mom. And then he explained to me, I was never planned, obviously. They didn't think they could have kids. I have an adopted brother that's 9 years older than me. But he said it was a God thing.
Yeah.
So number 2, here I am, the wisdom, the discipline of a man who had flown so many sorties and so many missions, who had trained so many, but who had lost people too. He became a colonel. He was full bird colonel by the time he retired. So I had the military discipline.
Yeah.
But I had a retired person who was the military discipline. The gift, if you could spend 31 years in the military, come out on the backside and learn everything about the world and life as you know it, and then share that with a newborn son, how would you do it differently? I had that benefit.
That's unbelievable.
And my mom, she worked during World War II. In 1954, I think it was, she tested and became a CPA, which was very unusual back in the 50s.
Wow, yeah.
So she was that don't mess with me kind of woman. I pictured her going into the office with her things and the guys smoking their cigarettes in the newsroom, slapping her, whistling her, whatever. And then she slides her name into the door and said, you're all fired.
Yeah.
That happened.
Wow.
So when she was working with the Braden and Herald with Paul Bartley back in those days. So, I thought it was such a horrible thing that they were so old, but the gifts that I was giving to start my life off at a young age, the advantage that my kids have had, and hopefully that passes on to the generation, that we have before us. I hope so, because I think we've lost most of that.
Yeah.
But I think we can get it back if we really focus on what's important. And to me, that's God, country, family.
And I look at it too, because my kids are all spread out. I 23 down to 11. My daughter just turned 11, and I think about those phases of my life. Which kid got the most of me, the best of me, right? And I would have to say my daughter, who's 11, because I wake up and realize, at some point you wake up and realize what's the most important. But those kids that maybe had young parents, it seems cool and fun, but those people were probably working. They were, really trying to build their careers at that time, where you got the best of your dad. And it sounds like to me, really, he didn't even think he could have a kid, so he really wanted to even pour even more into it, because it was such a gift to him that you got the best of it. And it's so ironic how things turn where you didn't realize it till later on in life, what blessing that you had that whole time, and it was like right under your nose. And I think a lot of us have to tune into that, even just more so for everything, like what's important right now and what it is. So that's really cool that you were able to get all of that at all those years, and now you're paying it forward with your kids, and now I know your grandkids, because Michael tells me how you guys are always doing stuff. It's all about family.
Oh, they're my heart, man.
Which is the best.
They're my heart.
And it's good to hear, because you work with your wife too as well. Which
I do.
And I work with my wife. So, I get the importance of that. Not all my kids have been following me, but they're young yet.
They're young.
I find that they wake up in the real world when they're about 30, as I seen it happen to other people, and they're like, wait a minute, I had the golden ticket over here. Maybe
maybe they're smarter than us. I don't know. Maybe we think it's the golden ticket.
I hope so. I hope that they are.
Yeah, me too.
But how has that been working with your wife? I mean, I know how it's been. It's kind of a forward question, but tell me how that dynamic works for you and the great business that you have built, and where it started from, and how it's evolved to where you are today, and a little bit about where it's going to be going. in the
You're going to see
future.
a lot of smiles from my face because you're teeing these up for me, right? I get to talk about my mom and my dad, right? And we talk about Shannon and Michael and what an incredible son-in-law he is. And I'm so thankful that he brought us together. But then the grandbabies, you know, because Sherry was the impetus for everything that I have now. And what I mean by that, this was not our first marriages, right? We say we've been married for 30-something years, just not to each other, right? Yeah. So unfortunately, there were times and things happen, right, in life, and but God brought us together. And when He did, little did I know at the time what a gift it was. It works perfectly together.
Correct.
We don't always feel that way.
No.
Some days it doesn't seem like that it does. But in the overall scheme of life and our business, and I say this not to just give her credit, there is no way we would be where I am today, literally without her. And what I mean by that, it's in my absence, things got done. I didn't have to worry about it. Who am I going to trust more than her? The role that she plays is not the same role that I have. So the yin and yang, that was actually our wedding. She wore a black and white dress, and it was kind of the yin and yang thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't big into it until now that I grow into life and I experience it. I see what it means. It's hard sometimes, right? Because there is no off switch. In real estate, first of all, in the real estate industry itself, it's a 24-hour cycle.
Correct.
And for two people to be together 24/7, 365 days out of the year, a little break here and there when they go off with the sisters or whatever for a trip, that would break a lot of marriages. The strain and the stress of that, you know, the tension factor of it could grow so great that a lot of times it does.
Yeah.
In our case, it's the glue.
Yeah.
It's not what pushes us apart. It's what keeps us together.
Yeah.
Because nobody in their right mind would be able to put up with me when I come home and talk about closings and agents and this, that, and the other. So it doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
It works for us, but it's work.
Correct.
That's the first thing people need to understand. If it's not working for you, it's not the other person's fault.
Yeah.
It's a shared responsibility that you have to work together to get it. It's possible for anyone to be able to work with their spouse at that level and be high performing, because at the end of the day, I know I have her unconditional love, trust, and commitment.
Correct.
We promise that to each other when we put rings on our finger.
Yeah.
And so long as you live by that, you will succeed in anything that you do.
Yes.
Not just business, but life.
Life.
So, yeah, I am so blessed to have her.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot of, I mean, people know how much I love my wife.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she is my best half. And, you know, there's not another human being on the face of the earth that I could ever imagine. Well, there won't be.
Well, I would live in a cave, and as long as I had a TV and a fridge, I wouldn't have much other than that if I didn't have my wife. She's
true.
Sounds like it's the same kind of dynamic. My wife runs all my operations. I'm the guy who goes, oh yeah, I drum up the business. But if I didn't have her keeping everything together in the business, we wouldn't have a business. You know, so she's everything I'm not.
And I joke with this sometimes because I'm an avid fisherman. If you can't tell by the tan and the tan around my eyes or whatever, Michael's probably told you that.
Yeah.
Get kids out fishing because someday they'll take you. That's my motto. I liken it to a fisherman. I know where the fish are.
Yeah.
I can find them better than anybody. I know which bait to use.
Yeah.
My skill level at fishing is better than anyone. I can catch them all day long, and I throw them in the back of the boat, and then they rot.
Oh, yeah.
And I've wasted a fish. Unless you have that person behind you that can take that fish from that point. You know, there's idea people and there's facilitators.
Yes.
And you have to have that in a marriage. And she does that. She makes sure not only are the fish taken care of and they're fresh when we get home, but then she makes sure everybody's taken care of in the process as well.
That's right.
And sends it out. And she does this under the radar. She would be mortified to be here today. She would never do this.
Oh, my wife either.
It's just the way she's wired. So, yeah. And so you have to understand your skill set.
Yeah.
And you have to have somebody that can back up. Every great pitcher has to have a great catcher. Otherwise, there's going to be errors every single time.
That's it. Yeah, people stealing bases and all over. You could throw the best pitch in the world, but if it's overthrown, the guy's coming home. You know, so that's awesome. I love that dynamic. Only obviously because that's what I've been doing. My wife and I've been working together now 22 years. Wow. So we make a joke about it. We've been married 19 and together 22, but it's dog years, so it's like 100 and whatever that is, 140 years, because it's 24/7. There's no rest. Business doesn't stop, and I think that's important when we're talking about real estate. Real estate mortgage is pretty much marriage. It's the same business, right? Just a different side of the business, right? One's the money side, one's the actual property being sold.
Doesn't happen without the other.
Correct, and it doesn't end. Meaning 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. A lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times, and then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of times that's when you're talking to clients because they're out of work at those times. And then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that a lot of ti it's hard because if you didn't have if I didn't have my wife sitting next to me, I'm probably not going to call my other assistant at 9 o'clock at night because I have this bird brain idea about something. But I will look over at my wife real quick and say, Julie, what's going on with this? And sometimes I got to catch myself, and we were able to put some kind of boundaries in place. And
we are too,
but it's still. But she understands it. If that was anyone else, it wouldn't work. For me, anyways, it wouldn't work. And I said it on this podcast a ton of different times to other guests that I've had on. I never understood how people can't work with their wife. And when you were a kid, when I was a kid, you had best friends, right? That you would hang out with. I say this is what I always tell people when they ask me. I would hang out with that friend day and night, every day, sleep over their houses, sleep over my house, never want to go home. But yet now I'm married to this human being here who I sleep with every night, and now I don't want to hang out with her all day. To me, that just never made any sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is supposed to be more than my best friend growing up, for obvious reasons, right? Like we slept on bunk beds. Sure,
sure, I get you.
So why wouldn't I want to be with this person day in and day out? And to the point that you made, the same point is, who am I going to trust more than this person, and who's going to have my back more? So it's definitely the dynamic, and I believe the people that work for me see that, the people that work for you that see that, which gives you an edge when you're recruiting agents because they see that familiar community in a sense within the business. So it's not just a business because you're family, and it's your family to start it and your family. So let's talk a little bit about your real estate company as a sense where you started. Was it Remax? You started pretty much.
So I have a law background. So
correct.
I'm
You're
not an attorney.
Okay.
But I hold a JD.
Okay.
And our company was purchased out, and we had to make a decision. We could stay and work for the new owner. And at the time, I had no interest, and I was the CFO.
Okay.
So I had no interest in staying. So the decision was made, had a little parachute, and a good friend of mine, Bob Rotundo, who's Broker Bob, and all the real estate classes, the realtors are watching, the code of ethics that said, Broker Bob did this. He wasn't that Broker Bob, right? He was a good Broker Bob. I talked to him a little bit. He says, hey, you need to get in the business. Why don't you give it a try? And I had some time. I had a little money in the bank. Young kids, so that was kind of strained a little bit, and didn't have the best relationship with the first wife. I had a lot on my shoulders,
Yeah.
So I said, all right, let's do it. So I jumped out. He had a Century 21 franchise right here on Manatee Avenue in Braden, and Century 21 All Aces. I'll give him a shout out. Yeah. And went to work and found it to be one of the most difficult jobs or professions that I could ever choose.
Yeah.
Here I am, a linear, logical, pragmatic thinker, and now I have to be dogmatic, and I have to go out and sell myself.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to be a showman. Well, the good thing is I was already a showman inside. I just had to go get it, right? It's but a motivator and a facilitator at the same time. So my first year in the business, became his number one agent. Had closed, on average, I was closing about 35 to 40 transactions a year.
Really good.
I was going into neighborhoods that were owned, if you will, the farm areas, by these senior agents that were icons in the business. And, I had to keep my one eye open to make sure I wasn't going to get run over by a Lexus or Mercedes coming down the road with a crazy person in it, which there's a whole side story with that, I'll tell you, not on air. So we don't. And that's where it started.
Yeah.
I quickly realized after about 2 years that, can I make money transacting real estate? And the answer was yes.
Yes.
Right? Because I have the fundamental skills, both from what my parents, my life experience, my education taught to me. But I realized I was a lot better at helping others. And I know this is cliche, where you put others first.
I get it.
I don't like to be in the limelight, believe it or not. I do not like to get gifts. Yeah. I do not like to be recognized at events.
Correct.
I'm very proud of my accomplishments, and I'm very happy, and I'm humble at the same time. Being proud and humble at the same time is almost an oxymoron, but it is. I arrive more joy at the success of others. Now, of course, if they're working for my company, that's a financial business component, and it provides a revenue for our business.
Correct.
But that revenue, albeit smaller, so the percentage in the real estate business is, the commissions are getting thin, right? There's a lot of different models out there, and everybody, all models are great and they work for people. Yeah. But if it were all about the money, everybody would be with one company.
Correct.
So I love knowing that the people that are with us currently receive such a value.
Correct.
And an upside to what we're doing. That gives me the greatest good, which is in my heart. And secondly, if you do anything well enough.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're picking strawberries, if you're in sanitation, or if you're an attorney or a doctor, it doesn't matter. If you do anything well enough, you'll be the richest human being in the world.
Encompass, yeah.
Right. It is. The money is, yes, but the money is, my bottom line is not the Dewey Decimal System.
No.
Mine are human beings. It's the
Correct.
agents that I have within my company. So, but I had a very robust sales career in the middle. I went to a RE/MAX office. Peter Crowley, another shout out. I'm shouting out all my competitors here. I don't know, but and actually Ron Travis and Dave Copeland, who are two just monumental icons in the real estate industry from 30 years ago, 40 years ago in some cases, but just they hold such a huge place in my heart. They gave me an opportunity to lead.
That's it. Yeah.
And that later took me on to what was the world's largest franchise, the number one franchise in the world, which was RE/MAX.
Yeah.
But not only that, our company fast-tracked to number one in the state. I was honored with international, not just Florida, not just the United States, but the International Broker of the Year manager.
Yeah.
And then, 2007 happened. And everybody had to shift.
Yeah.
Right? We had to make a shift.
Yeah.
And just like my dad finding out mom was pregnant at 51,
That's a
I
big
don't know
shift.
how I'd take it. I'm 55. If somebody came to me at 51 and said I'm pregnant, I may not have taken it like my dad did, right? I may have been looking, you'd never see me again. I'd be down in Mexico somewhere sipping tequila on the beach. I wouldn't do that, honey, I promise. But it gave me insight to what truly value was in the business.
Yeah.
So then that led us to opening our own brokerage.
Okay.
There was a decision that was forced to be made. God put in our pathway a merger that happened between two incredible companies, which was RE/MAX Properties, RE/MAX Alliance Group, or RE/MAX Gulfstream. They became RE/MAX Alliance Group.
Okay.
I realized then, I looked around the room, and those lieutenants that were put in place by Peter Crowley and Ron and Dave were so much better than me.
Yeah.
That it's not that I didn't feel like I can compete or have a place there, but I felt like I would be holding people back.
Yeah.
So I looked around, talked to Sherry, and of course that's how we became Florida Suncoast Real Estate.
Yeah. Okay.
Which to me is every experience that I've had in life, just like my mom and dad had, I got to put into play. And that's where I'm at today. And man,
that's right.
I didn't have a kid at 51, but I tell you what,
that's your baby.
What I've got, I have, everybody in our office. I don't say this to be family in any other way other than that's the bond.
Correct.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for them, real estate or otherwise.
Or personally, yeah.
Yeah. I love everybody I work with. Dude, I'm the richest guy in the world.
That's it. And that's
I really am.
And I think part of what I was, per our conversations and stuff that I was reading, did a little bit of homework as it was you love teaching. And that's your passion, is to pour into other people. When we opened up my first mortgage company back in 2002, I had to create the mission statement and all this stuff, and it was to help everyone around me become wealthy in every aspect of life. And if I was able to do that, then where would I land? It wasn't about how I could get to where I needed to get, because I would get there. If I could help you get to where you need to get in a well-balanced life, even though I think I wrote that down. I don't know if we were ever well-balanced, but it sounded really good.
Balance is a struggle.
Yeah, and
it's constant movement right and left to stay balanced. So there's a struggle.
I wanted it. That's what I wanted to be fully balanced, but that was the real goal. And I think if you help enough people get to where they want to go, as the old saying goes, you will absolutely get to where you want to go. You don't need to look at the numbers per se. The numbers don't matter at that point, because you will arrive no matter what and however it works. So talk about more of some of the education pieces that you've done. I know that you've gotten many different awards. I think one of them that I wrote down here, you're in the National Hall of Fame, which is, I know it's not easy for you to talk about it. No, it's never good. It's never easy for anyone to, this, that, or that. But it's easy for me to say it about you, just so you know that. It's easy for me to
I appreciate you saying it. I appreciate you saying it, doing the homework.
Because it's a big deal. I mean, I know that just not anybody is inducted into the National Hall of Fame, of realtors. I mean, it just doesn't happen. What is that, and how did that come about? And
so the Hall of Fame, and I'm rubbing shoulders.
And don't downplay it. I can already tell by your tone already.
And yes, I have been blessed with a lot of awards. Right, other people have recognized my achievements, and I don't think you get those awards by being just the top hitter or having caught the most passes or thrown the yards. Right, it's not like athletics, and we immediately think Hall of Fame. We think of Cooperstown or these other places,
Correct.
right? That's not what it is in my industry. It's making a difference in somebody else's life or
Correct.
a large level. So, yeah, I've had Realtor of the Year on the state level, local level, been president of the state. People elected me to be there.
Correct.
I didn't choose to go there.
Your peers.
Right. And it wasn't because I didn't sell more homes to get Realtor of the Year. That's not what it is.
No.
But the Hall of Fame in this case, yes, you get a plaque with your name up in Washington, D.C., on our the headquarters up there. That was for advocacy, more important than anything, is private property rights, because obviously having a background in law, I'm a big guy in process and procedures, and understanding that advocacy is important and wanting to defend and to help others is kind of where my natural tendencies were. So working within the community, both at the state, national, and local levels, with leaders in the community, whether it's business leaders, civic leaders, or political leaders. In fact, it has been my life's mission to make sure we know what's going on,
Correct.
to make sure that everyone understands that under all in this world is the land.
Correct.
And the property rights that go with that are so much more important than most people give it credit for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have time or the inclination to learn enough about it to defend it. So it's my job to defend that.
Someone has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's my sweet spot, right? It's like you don't send the guy that's in the motor pool out to do a Navy SEAL job. I'm not relating it to being that skill set or understanding it.
I get
but you
it.
have to know who your players are, right, on the team. And so it was an honor to be, and a lot of that is I've had the honor to work with Mayor Gene Brown right here in Bradenton, all the city council members, all the county commissioners that we have, the state representatives that we work with, Senator Jimmy Boyd, Will Robinson, all of them, Gregory, who now is taking a different position, but he's such a great guy. I know them on a first name basis, and I know them on a personal level, and then taking that upstairs a little bit more to Senator Rubio and Representative Greg Stubbe. And I'm not just doing this to name drop.
No.
But these people know me. They know my passion, and they know that I'm not going to bring an ask to them.
That doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
Correct.
But that doesn't have an anecdotal or a fact to go behind it. So the association recognizes me for that reason, but the award is great, but it doesn't stop there. I'm going to continue to do this.
You need to do this because especially what we're seeing now in this country and world, and I'm not going to go into the depths of that.
That's not a political statement. That's an observation.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we have advocates and people out there that are making sure that the lines aren't getting crossed or smeared, whether it's a homeowner trying to, protect their rights as their home ownership, or even a real estate agent trying to protect their job and the way they make a living and how that works. We need people like you that are out there. And I think it trickles down into the fact where, and I'm not saying this because you may be recruiting people trying to grow your office, because I know that you have, and we'll get into this in a little bit, you have a direction that you're going that may be different than it was in the past. But I think it's good for people to know out there that may be wanting to get in the real estate business or are currently in the real estate industry right now and aren't happy where they are, and they're looking for that leader or that direction or someone that really has the passion. And not only you can have passion in everything, right? But if you don't have the information that you need to take those next steps and understand what the laws are or what this is, a mentor, if you will, there's an opportunity there for people, at least in this area, that are watching, that may be watching, to say, okay, well, maybe I didn't know much about your company, right? Now I'm watching this podcast. I think I need to have a conversation with Barry, because it would benefit them. I think it would benefit a lot of people in the industry to have that conversation with you, just because of your knowledge, your experience, and your passion. It's not that you need to have all three. It's like a three-legged stool, right? It's if you're missing one of the legs, well, it's kind of empty, right? You have to have the experience. You have to have the knowledge and the know-how. And not everybody has all three. And the passion, you have to want to do it. Yeah, you could be a great teacher and be a miserable teacher, right? And not love what you do, and there's no benefit there. Yeah, they know it. So I think it's good for people to know that. I know we're not on this. We're not here to try to recruit people or any of that, but I think that you're an asset to the industry as a whole, and you're right here in our backyard, and people should know that to even have a conversation. And maybe something comes out of it in that sense, but it would benefit anyone involved. if you will. I think that to get to know you on that aspect.
Well, and I appreciate those words, and you're right. We don't recruit. We seem to attract.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I think if I may, about the real estate industry and the agents today is kind of what they're looking for. They don't know. Because the social media, the TikTok, the whatevers, and again, you can tell I'm not big on social media. But all of these 1-minute stars that are out there, and I know this is going to be on social media, so what differs me, anyone can learn a contract. Anyone can learn sales skills. Anyone can help somebody through the process of buying a home. And when an agent is looking for a competitive edge, they need to step outside of what all of the experts that are out in social media are doing. You don't need to cold call. 95% of my business were generated by 15 people in my life.
Correct.
I've sold thousands of homes.
Yeah.
And I was a listing agent primarily. Those were referrals by people who trusted me, not because I had a better listing presentation, not because I had better rates or anything else.
No.
They knew who I was at the core, and they knew that I cared more about something other than the commission check.
Correct.
And that's where it came from. So agents, what they don't realize, do you understand civics? Most people were never taught civics. Understand how your local political landscape changes and it shifts what's going to happen. And I'm not talking about development or developers, right? That's a whole other, you might as well talk about politics or church or whatever you want to at that time. But you have to understand how your community works at the very granular level. What is the planning department? Who are the county commissioners? What is zoning? What does ordinance mean? Where does this stuff work? Have you ever sat on a county commission meeting or whatever? You can do it. If you're not doing that on a daily basis, good luck at being the top in the industry.
Correct.
Because the person that walks in behind you, all things being equal, in the real estate industry, just like the mortgage world, we have the same tools, right? You have loans, you have products, you have rates, you have fees.
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
And yes, we're likable.
Yeah.
Well, you more than me. But
come on.
It's the hair. But it really comes down to impressions and being impressed. Yeah. So me spending time in Tallahassee, me spending time in Washington, D.C., serving on law and policy committees as a liaison for the National Association of Realtors, a lot of people would say, man, you're wasting your time going away. That's time away from your business. What are you going to do? That's how my business has grown.
Correct.
And if that's a differentiator, and let me tell you something, 90% of the industry today won't step out and do that.
No.
Because they think, number one, they're not smart enough, or number two, they're going to open their mouth and appear to be stupid. Well, if you sit back and do nothing, those two things are true.
Yeah, 100%.
Take a swing, man. You get into Cooperstown with a 300 average, and let's face it, that's swinging the bat 10 times and striking out 7 of those.
That's it.
And if you look at that as a defeat, well, then that's your problem, not, and good luck trying to compete. So that's what we teach. Yes, we teach contracts. Yes, we have training. Yes, we do these things. But taking you to the graduate school of real estate is what we're focused on.
Yeah.
So yes, we like to attract talent, but it's like-minded talent.
Correct.
And we're all not bobbleheads. We're not all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone learns differently. And I learn more from my folks than I ever did doing anything else.
Yeah.
Little bits and pieces. And usually those are problems that are created that I learn from.
That's it.
So if advocacy and investing in your industry, if you don't think politics, if you don't want anything to do with politics, you're sticking your head in the sand, because in this business, politics is everything. Politics are in your business, even if your business is not in politics.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that phrase. And leadership can change, and you have to be able to pivot. You can complain all you want. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Get out and vote and listen to what people are saying. And again, just like my dad taught me, it's God, country, family. If those three things don't come out of the person's mouth the first time, then you move on to the next person.
That's it.
Underlying is just...
And that hierarchy, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot of people look at me and they go, what do you mean God, country, family? I'm like, you weren't raised by a military. I can tell you right now. And I was going to go, but my dad told me no. I failed to mention that. I told my dad, he goes, hey,
that's
what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going Air Force, Dad. He goes, no, you're not. I fought in 3 wars to keep you out of one. You're going to college.
Yeah.
He was plucked out of a farm at 17 years old.
And where was
Ohio.
Ohio. I thought it was Ohio, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, Southern Ohio. That's when you have 8 kids and 10 kids, and they thought, well, good Catholic people. No, it's not the case. You needed somebody to work on the farm.
You need a hand. You needed free labor.
Yeah, you needed free labor, man. You did.
Keep having more. We got more. Cows in the barn. We need. Come on, honey.
Free's never free, though. We know that one.
Yeah.
So 100%. I think our company is vastly different than anybody else out there today, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, 100%.
And we're not better than anyone.
No.
if we're for you, we're for you. And
That's
we make
it.
lifelong relationships with these people.
Let's talk a little bit about you as a developer and investor. I want to give people, because we have a lot of clients that come down here. They're either buying second homes or they're buying investment properties, and you have a lot of knowledge in that, specifically in this area, because you do both. Talk about a little bit about your experience in the investment side of things here in Manatee, Sarasota County, from what you've seen it start as, maybe even say go as far back as 30 years ago, and to what you see today, and where you see opportunities for people that are looking to possibly still continue to come down here. Because what you hear a lot of people saying is, which is completely BS, is, oh, this bubble's going to pop. It's going to pop. And I don't see it that way, because I'm in the trenches. I seen what happened in 07, 08. It's completely different. People didn't have 30% equity in their homes like the average person does today. The jobs were down, and people actually are vested in the properties that they're in. So I think it's a completely different. Now, do I think this market might soften a little bit just to equalize a little bit? And it has, maybe. But that doesn't mean anything what's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years when rates do go down and we bring in another 1 million, 2 million buyers into the pool because the rates drop 1% or 2%. So talk a little bit about what you've seen here as far as investors are concerned, what you've done, and also where you see it going.
You can wait to buy real estate, or you can buy real estate and wait.
Correct.
Which one's going to make you more money?
Yeah, you buy.
I can tell you, every real estate investor, including myself, that I have ever worked with and advised are some of the wealthiest people that I know. And they've been hit a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you're conservative in your approach, if you are bold enough to take risk, you can become a millionaire within 4 years, easily enough.
Yeah.
So yes, 2007 was tough, right? But even before that, we had a stock market crash.
Correct.
That lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
We went from 07, which was July of 07. I remember it vividly. And it took us till about 2015 to really get out. Look at the time frame on that.
Small.
It's a glimpse in life.
That's it.
It's the dash in life. When on your tombstone, there's a dash. Yeah. That's one of those stories in the dash, right? Yeah. The same people that I helped purchase a home in 2004, who paid an astronomical amount, that had a lottery ticket to buy it from a new build, and they were standing in line like you were getting tickets to a Rolling Stones concert, showing my age a little bit, or Justin Bieber, whoever they do now. Actually, click a button and get it. Pay too much for them. Those same people, their net worth today is 20-fold.
Yeah.
Do not bet against Florida. If
Never.
you buy dirt, you will win.
Oh, yeah.
There is not an argument against purchasing real estate for an investment. Now, of course, if you pay too much for it, it doesn't mean you got ripped off or it was a bad deal. It just means you're going to wait a little longer for that wealth.
Correct.
When was the last time you bought a stock and watched it tank?
Yeah. So,
right
now.
And I'll tell you right now. Yeah, right now. I tell you, the Gen Zs and the millennials right now. Millennials are waiting a little longer to buy. Gen Zs bought around 25 years old.
Correct.
And now they're looking at 35 years old. To me, you just lost 10 years worth of equity.
That's right.
No, we want to rent. We want to move around. We don't want to pay a mortgage. Well, here's the reality. If you're on a lease, you're paying a mortgage.
You're paying somebody mortgage.
Else's,
yeah.
Right? And so there is a need for rentals. Don't get me wrong. There are some people that just home ownership is not for them. Yeah. When you arrived in America, they said, go west, young man. Look for the gold rush. And they thought that they were going to get rich quick. Yeah. Some did, but a small minority.
Yeah.
But the rest that settled in become this nation's most wealthiest people.
All
wealthiest people in the world were
land barons. Yeah, all those land barons. Yeah.
So they were going for gold. They found out that land, dirt, was more valuable than gold.
Yeah.
So there's risk involved in this. Understand your barriers and your parameters. Every investor that I have ever worked with understands the checks and balances. They do not put themselves at risk. Putting yourself at risk is doing these fly-by-night, flip loans and all these other things or whatever. And when you're dealing outside of the fringe of organized real estate and mortgages, you're treading into an area that can be very dangerous.
Correct.
And, do I recommend it? For some. It's not for the lighthearted.
No.
It's an expensive way to do it. Sometimes it's faster. But I have learned that buying and holding will always make you more money than flipping. If you're making money flipping, that's fine. Do that to buy and hold something that's going to last a legacy. People that are moving here from Florida right now, they freak out. They look at the housing market and they're kind of reacting like the hurricane season. Well, I've been through my entire life. I've had hurricanes. Now, I'm not downplaying the death and devastation that happened with hurricanes. I understand that component of it. But if you look at how many storms have happened over the last 100 years versus the ones that have been catastrophic, it's a very small amount. It's negligible when it comes to things. Same thing with wealth in real estate.
Yeah.
Every investor I've ever worked with in real estate, I've made very wealthy.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, I compare our corridor to Southwest California. I mean, you look in the 70s, right? The 70s, you could buy land out in California, that whole south coast, for pretty much what you were probably looking at here in 2010, 11, or even earlier. And now it's been creeping up. But you look at what California's done in the last 30 years. I mean, that same house you buy here for $1 million is $5 million.
Oh, yeah.
Better beaches.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take our beaches any day over there. And if you look on I always tell people, just look on a heat map in January, right? If you look at a heat map in January, and there's only one section of this whole country that's in the orange, and that's us. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Sunshine and low taxes. I don't want California's taxes.
I don't want their 70 degrees, and it gets cold over there in those months. I mean, you get some weather. Here, for what you buy here, I believe in the best real estate, other than you don't get water view when you're up on a hill. Like maybe you get over there, you kind of get that. But I'll take this any day for a fraction of the price. But I don't think that's going to stay that way for long. I think this is just going to continue to climb and climb. And now that we've relocated so many people from different areas in the country so aggressively over the last few years, their people, their families, and their friends they're following suit slowly. And we're getting some attrition. Some people are moving back for whatever reason. Not as many that are still coming in. So with that being said, you only got the coast. This coast is the coast. They're not making more of the coast. They're not.
We're
doing
seeing a
anything.
huge migration from Miami and the West Palm Beach area right now.
I know they're coming here.
Yeah, and a lot of that springs from when COVID, as horrible as it was as a pandemic, and for whatever reasons and whatever beliefs were, Florida fared very well because we were open. Right.
Yes.
That's not a political statement, but a lot of people moved here because they could go out to the beach. And yes, you're isolated. I mean, my wife and I would go to Duffy's and we'd do takeout. Right. And we'd take the Jeep out and we'd go sit in a parking lot and overlook the beach. You didn't do that everywhere, right?
No.
So that caught on. Word got out. But the people that moved here and invested here, and this is both for people, not just investment, because anybody that buys a real estate is an investor.
Investor, yeah.
Whether you're using it for your personal home or whatever, you're an investor.
Correct.
Is when they came here, they bought what they could, not what they wanted.
Yes.
So the bubble component, which... Yes, there are things called bubbles when you're dealing in economics. I get it. But we had a stock market crisis in the 90s. We had a banking crisis in the 2000s. Yeah. We had a pandemic, a health crisis.
Yeah.
Nowhere did it say it was a real estate crisis.
No.
It affected the real estate markets.
Correct.
It drives supply and demand, availability of credit, and money to buy.
Yeah.
That's how it works. It's very simple. So the people that bought here because they could not be, or they wanted to, but not what they wanted, and maybe they're locked into a 2.5% mortgage rate.
Yeah.
What we're starting to see is a normalization, and at least in people's minds, of hey, gas prices are going to be above $3. It jumped up quick, but if you see $3.16 or $3.12 now, you think, oh my God, gas is cheap. No, it's not.
No.
Not comparatively. And if you look back at history when it comes to real estate and investing, and you compare to what happened 30 years ago, what you're going to find is, yes, it was a lot cheaper. Here's the old guy, me, sitting on the porch. Boy, I could have bought that place on Key Royale back then for $175,000. It's $985,000. It was sold within hours.
That's right.
That's happened within my life, my adult life.
Yeah.
So even if they have the golden handcuffs of the rates right now, people are starting to normalize that, hey, rates are going to be what the rates are going to be. They're never going to go back down there. So maybe 5% is good enough. So you know better than me in the mortgage industry, but what I'm hearing from the experts in the economists that are far smarter than I am is that we're going to see a softening of rates.
Correct.
It's going to go down at some point.
Has to.
I'm not going to predict when because I don't know.
No, because everybody's been wrong on that prediction. But if you look at this chart, ebbs and flows throughout the history repeats itself. No, and there's never... It's different this time.
Yeah.
Everyone says that every time. It's different this time. No, it isn't, because if you look back, it changed. It goes up, it goes down.
The reality is The only thing that's new is what we've forgotten.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
It's new to us because we forgot it. But I think that there is going to be movement when the rates come down a little bit. So if I can trade a 2.5% rate for a 4.5 or a 5,
I'm ready to move.
I bought a house in a neighborhood that I didn't know anything about because I ran down here. I did no inspection. It was cash.
Correct.
I did everything, recklessly bought a home, and now I'm going to move. Well, the reality is there's still equity in those homes now
A lot.
from 2020. People have still they're not going to lose it.
No.
And if they trade a rate, now they can move to a neighborhood that they want.
They want to be in.
Now that they've been here, we're going to see a little bit of inventory coming in, which is what we need. We need inventory now, not just builders, but resales. So that's going to happen. Yeah. And I think that, what people don't realize is they say, how's the market? Oh, it's gotten bad or whatever. If you look at, Sherry and I combined have been doing this 50 years.
Yeah.
If you look overall, we're still winning in double digits. We're in the 20 to a 25% rate for our investments.
Okay.
I checked my stock account this morning.
Yeah.
If I do 12, I'm doing a backflip.
Oh, yeah.
The other part is when my stock tanks and goes away, it's sold forever. If my value goes down in the house, I still have a house. Somebody needs a place to live.
That's it.
During
You still
COVID,
got
we
rent.
needed shelter. So the investment side and the way the market's going, I don't believe that we're going to see a bust. Again, I say this, don't bet against Florida when it comes to real estate.
Never.
Low taxes. We're not getting a sales tax. No. We have all the theme parks. We have all the beaches. You can get anywhere within 10 hours, tip to tip, wherever you wanted to go.
Yeah.
So, good luck with trying to invest anywhere else that you're going to make more money in real estate.
And people come here nonstop, so you're always going to have it. And I notice here, people always say, especially where I'm from in the Northeast in Massachusetts, they're like, how do you deal with the summers? But if I look at the weather, on those hot days, I look at the weather up there. Some days it's hotter. So people are starting to realize it now that the people that say that never really spent time here anyways in the summer. They just say it. And now these people are now coming down because they're visiting people. So I'm on the same track as you. People are going to continue to buy here. And I think the equity is going to continue to go up. It's flattening out, like correcting.
Our housing recession has already happened.
Yeah.
It happened a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I had a guy, and I'll just, as a quick note, I was debating with him. And he was this old curmudgeony guy. It was right down here at Orange Blossom Coffee, and I'm talking to the guy, and I gave him 100 reasons to buy a home. And he said, yeah, but I can't live here because of humidity. I said, okay, you got 99 more?
Yeah.
I said, if humidity is the only thing, I got a great AC guy. And he just looked at me, and he gave me that smile. Yeah. And he looked at me and goes, you're good.
Yeah.
I said, no, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to be out in shoveling snow or any of that stuff. So,
oh, by the way, we do offer free snow removal with every home purchased in Florida.
That's right.
For the audience. There's my plug.
And you do it personally.
I'll come do it.
You'll do it
I'll
personally.
come do it. I'll bring the shovel, man.
So talk about a little bit about what you've seen with development and investment properties for yourself. You're still buying?
So, yeah. Well, right now it's a little different. So there's multiple ways to make money in real estate. You don't have to buy a property. You can issue a mortgage to somebody privately if you want to, which is not smart. So you're here. I would send them to you. But also development. If you can find a way to make money in real estate, and we teach all of our agents this, how to kind of make money from raw land to developed land. There's an entitlement period that's in there. So being that I'm from here, I've probably set foot on every fence, ran across every fence, or been chased out of every pasture because we're doing bonfires and drinking beer, when I was a kid or whatever. Yeah. But I also made relationships with those families. So being a trusted advisor and helping somebody when you take a piece of land that you don't own, and somebody's willing to subordinate that land, in other words, put it up, and have a builder developer come in and build on it, you get paid in the real estate business. Yeah. In fact, you make a hell of a lot more money doing that than you do just listing it, putting a sign in the yard, and selling it. So there's a multitude of ways. To your question, there is a ton of opportunity for incremental developers in the state of Florida, especially here in Manatee County. Now, the Live Local legislation that was passed a couple of years ago in modified sense provides opportunities to go from industrial to residential.
Okay.
In industrial land, so long as the industrial land isn't in a shortage and it becomes more valuable, but in some of these areas in Florida where you have industrial land or commercial land that really has kind of fallen into the slum and blight, and they're revitalizing these and going residential. If you have the partners in the business like you, the mortgage folks that can help us out, the banking relationships that can help us out, you can make more money just converting a property from raw land to entitlement, from entitlement to construction, or an existing piece of property. You take an old Burger King and you can turn it into a multifamily pretty quick with the zoning. And the legislation that's taking place in the state of Florida under our, the last 10 years has been amazing. And so I call it incremental development. You don't have to be the big developer anymore. You don't have to have millions and billions of dollars. You have to be somebody that has a vision, that has a passion, that's willing to take a little bit of a risk. You have to have a little bit of money, but you can probably leverage that. But you also have other people that are wanting to get into that investment. You can pool it together.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a lot of that going on right now, where you have a you and a me. And I'm not going to give my whole 401k to buy a piece of real estate, but I have 10 of my buddies that would want to go in. We create an LLC, shareholder arrangement. And I think with the mindset and with the honorable dealings, this can happen and make people a lot of money. That's what I see as the next generation of investors in Manatee County.
Yeah.
And development isn't everyone, and I said this before we went on air, if you ask anyone, the top 3 things that are happening in the state of Florida that need attention right away, and it covers the entire state, housing is an issue, right? Attainable housing, not affordable, not subsidized, but attainable.
Attainable, yeah.
For our workforce to be able to, I think workforce education is going to be needed. We can't have all the doctorates and JDs and everybody else here and nobody to do the jobs.
That's it.
We have infrastructure issues, and of course we have environmental issues. Water, right? Nobody comes to Florida for the mountains.
No.
I think the state of Florida, and under Governor DeSantis, who I'm going to give credit for, and I worked a lot closely with the legislature on clean water bills and acts. And again, that goes back to my advocacy side. We kind of have that moving in the right direction. The funding is happening. Infrastructure is what people can't deal with. It's not development. It's the infrastructure. I can't get into my favorite restaurant.
Correct.
The roads are packed. What's going to happen with the drainage and the sewers and those kind of things? And I think that getting that in check and electing the right officials that are like-minded to move in that direction is going to just provide more opportunity for us in the investment world.
For us, 100%.
There's so many ways to make money in real estate. You don't have to go out and buy a dupe. Although, if you're moving to Florida right now, if you're watching this from outside the state, my advice to you is to go out and buy a multiplex, like a 4-unit or 5-unit, live in one and let somebody else pay for it. That's where people need to be focused. And they go, oh,
I can do that?
You can do that.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it? Oh, I want to live in a house with a big backyard or whatever. No. You've been told you need to buy a house on Memory Lane.
Correct.
You can do that one day. And trust me, that house is going to be a whole lot nicer if you invest wisely when you get here.
Correct. The one house is going to pay for your next house.
Yeah. Dave Ramsey, I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey.
Oh, yeah, I love Dave
I don't use my equity to roll, to leverage it. Obviously, wealth is built through very long-term holding. I'm a big Warren Buffett fan. But also, if people are worried about a bubble, they're afraid. And he also said when people are afraid, be greedy.
When
people are greedy, be afraid. So if you're looking to buy or sell, now's the time to do it. And I'm not just pitching that.
Because people are backing off. That's when you got to run in. That's when the buffaloes go in the storm. Go through the storm, right?
They run right through it to get to the other side faster than anybody.
You don't want to be a cow. I mean, just the reality of it. The sheeple are the ones that will run away.
Yeah.
And you see the guys that are running in, like your Warren Buffett's, they're coming in and they're gobbling everything up, and they just keep getting richer and richer. I think it's the same. It's a universal rule, no matter what.
Time tested.
So we have, we're doing pretty good, man.
Are we?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with us. All right,
okay.
Yeah.
I love hearing you talk.
Yeah, well, man, I'm getting more from you, actually. We're doing a lot of property investments, my wife and I. So I think we have like 7 or 8 properties right now.
Oh, good for you.
We try to hold them. But every once in a while, we sold a couple that we could make a good enough dime up front, and it was worth it based on the market rent I would have received would have been much lower than what I could have got on just selling it. So we're like, okay, this one will move. But I want to get more into the multi units, the 4s, the 8s, the 10s, like the bigger ones. 'Cause I just think that it's affordable housing, which is a lack for. If I have it, I can make more money in time with those 4plexes. I see more people making more money long term with the bigger properties that they're buying.
Sure.
But I'm more interested in actually manufactured homes. I'm thinking if we need to talk outside of this show and buying the tract of land to put together a whole manufactured home, not a trailer park, but a manufactured home development with affordable housing where you can sell the property, sell the houses, and then own the land.
Right.
And then you get the land lease in perpetuity forever and ever and ever, and that increases, and that way you're not responsible for the property itself that you sell. You can put these up for maybe $75,000 and you're selling them for $125.
Yep.
And then you get the land leases at $1,200 a month or whatever it is. And now you've created affordable living for people, for our, people that are working in our restaurants, the people that
Our seniors.
Seniors, the people.
I mean, that's
veterans.
the biggest travesty is our seniors.
Yeah.
Because young people working in a restaurant can go work 2 jobs. The seniors can't.
They can't.
That's kind of that's really what gets in my crawl when people complain about housing, and typically those older folks won't complain. They'll just sit back because they think somebody else is more important than them, or they need it more than I do. That's just a mentality of an older person.
Yeah.
You realize that? So I think you're on the right track. There is something that I do. I'm happy to meet with anybody. Obviously, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a big trend in the near future with and differentiating mobile, manufactured, and prefabricated homes.
Yeah.
Mobile has wheels on it. Correct. Manufactured, 2 pieces, slap them together.
That's it.
I'll say a prefab, if you will.
Yeah.
They may come in sections, but they are single-family homes. And by the way, FHA, Fannie, or Freddie, when it comes to manufactured, they're single-family homes.
Yeah, they're single-family.
They have to be treated exactly the same.
Yeah,
They just have to be permanently affixed to a foundation.
That's right.
So that's something that I would love to do sometime with you and anybody else that's watching. If we can open that up, we'd love to get together for a cup of coffee. And talk about it.
And I think it's a great. There's a big segment of the market that could be covered by that for people that are looking for homes, and nobody's really attacking that place, if you will.
Right.
And I think there's a huge opportunity there. And it's,
there is, and when you have landowners that typically don't have the money to build.
Correct.
And you have the people that want to build that don't have the money to buy the land. That's where I talked about subordination.
Correct.
There's a lot of infill opportunities, not just for big communities like that, because these homes look like single family. There's some over in Bears Creek. I'd be happy to
would never know.
Yeah, you would never know that it's not a single family home. So when you compare the two together, and you bring your asset and my asset together, then we either hang on to it for a long time with a shareholder agreement, or we flip out of it, or however you want to do it. It's the easiest entry level to investing, because number one, it's new products, so you don't have to worry about the risk or the maintenance or anything else. They're financed, easy to get financed once you get it done. Yeah. And it's an easy cost of acquisition and entry to get in. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. You know, my bet is the majority of your viewers, if they're in business or they're entrepreneurs, they probably have enough resources sitting around right now to pull the trigger on this. And we'd love to hear from them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd love to get to know who they are. Let's make you rich. That's I want to make more millionaires.
Yeah, if we help them out. So one thing we didn't touch on that I would love to touch on is, I know that you do a lot of things within the community with some nonprofits. Is there one or two in particular that you really have a heart for?
Well, yes, there's several, and I can't. It's like picking your favorite kid, right? I mean, when I
talk about all of them if you want.
I know. Well, no, I'll give you a couple that I really want to plug. Obviously, near and dear to my heart are kids.
Okay.
Right. I mean, Savannah, Sophia, Shannon, Colin, Bailey, our kids are just have given me the greatest joy in life. Period. And there's nothing that you could do monetarily to ever emulate that or even replace it. So kids are very important to me. And a lot of people are starting to catch on and learn. The Elks organization does this. Okay. They do a thing called eFelt. And then, of course, there's Felt, Feeding Empty Little Tummies. Okay. That our prior mayor, Bill Evers, his wife Jane, started the foundation. And it's in Palmetto right now. But it's to make sure that not just certain kids, but every kid doesn't go hungry. You know, they do the backpacks with the food. Yes. And they have a ton of opportunity right now for, if you just want to go over and volunteer for an afternoon once a month to pack backpacks, the camaraderie and the joy that you get from that, I tell you what, stay off the golf course when it's too hot and go pack a backpack. But it is so important that financially we support this organization because it's hometown, it's deeply rooted right here in Manatee County. If you want to know that the dollars that you're donating are staying right here in Manatee County, it is a great organization. Whether it's doing food drives, putting a big barrel, if you own a business out there, you know, get a barrel in your office and do a competition. Let's get and there's specific things that these kids need. They need. But they also need money, right? I mean, every organization needs money to run. But they're running so smoothly when they have the funding, but they're always in crisis, right? Because the more kids that are coming here, the more hungry kids, and it would break my heart to know a kid didn't eat. I know. It would kill me. I know. The second one would be, and this one isn't as local, my wife and I support, and our organization supports veterans organizations.
Okay.
So Heroes Welcome Home, a good friend of mine, Tony Barrett, who owns Barrett Realty. Man, I'm plugging all these other companies here today. But he's a hero himself, obviously, Army guy. He was a medic and has served as a firefighter in his career and now owns a real estate company. But Heroes Welcome Home is a local organization where 100% of what they do goes right back into veterans here. So whether it's a down payment for rent, whether it's paying a utility bill, whether it's putting a roof on a house, ultimately he'd love to be able to start doing housing for these veterans. So the Heroes Welcome Home is another great one. Maverick from 106.5 CTQ, he has a foundation that's kind of closely tied with Tony, which is the psychological and rehabilitation of veterans with PTSD. Our son currently serves United States Air Force in a top secret capacity, so I can't go into a whole lot of deal, and that's not to be mysterious. But he's in harm's way all the time, and it's secret. I mean, he can't talk about it, and that's the world's worst thing, that you can do is not talk about it. So also Till Valhalla Foundation, and some of the organizations that we support that are there to support the Gold Star families from the 22 a day foundation, 22 veteran suicides a day. So if we see things like that, we prefer, you don't see our names out there a lot as donors. You won't see my face in newspapers. You won't see news releases of us doing these things. There's an organization called Silent Angels. I love the way that they do things. Is we just take care of business. And we're not doing it for, we're not
any accolades. No.
I don't want it.
No, we don't
want it. That's not what God, told us to do.
Exactly.
It wasn't in the book and it wasn't written in red, and I don't believe it, man. If it's written in red, I know it and I believe it. So, we focus on hyper local organizations, and we'd love to hear from any of your listeners that are out there. If they have any ideas to put in the chat or whatever, let us know. If you're working with veterans, if you're working with kids, and then of course the elderly. I think that is probably the most grossly underserved that are out there. Meals on Wheels. You're not just delivering food to somebody on a Wednesday. Dude, you're their hope. You're their lifeline to the outside.
That's it.
And they gave us what we have today, whether you want to believe it or not. And whatever capacity they served or worked in, whether it was somebody working in the lunchroom, in your school, to somebody that was a former leader of an organization, it doesn't matter. Take care of our elderly. We're going to be there one day. And I said that earlier. Like, I love fishing and taking kids fishing, because the old saying is, if you take a kid fishing, someday they may take you.
They may take you,
And that's just a metaphor also. Not just
absolutely.
So that's kind of what we do. Again, thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate it. But we're also looking to partner and to help. We do, as a business, we do come out and help. We do an auction for Feeding Empty Little Tummies. I'm not a licensed auctioneer, so I can't make any money doing this, but I can get up and go with the best cowpoke and get out there and raise you some money. If we can physically do things for you as an organization, lean on us, because I know thousands of people in this community. My job is a connector.
You're a connector. Then that's the key, I think. You teaching people how to be connectors too.
It is
within your
most
business.
important thing you do. My kids, Savannah and Sophia. They're connectors.
Why don't they teach that stuff in school? Like, it should be a networking.
Don't get me started on
class.
that one, man. Don't get me started on that
We'll
one.
need another hour.
If Barry could put together a school, it would look nothing like the schools today.
Correct.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic, everything else we take care of.
That's it.
We'd still drink out of a hose, by the way.
I still
And
do.
when the kids come in the house in the summer, what are you in here? Go out until you don't come back.
Get out of here.
Come on. The world has changed for us, so obviously we can't.
But I do feel here. I mean, I'm in Lakewood Ranch. It's probably the same over on the island where you are. My kids wouldn't have spent as much time outside as they do here. From where they are. I mean, the communities, there's kids running around. That's the one thing I like about down here. Is I see kids riding their bikes. Back in where I was in the Northeast, you didn't see a lot of kids riding their bikes. I mean, you had a lot of organized sports. Don't get me wrong, and parents are lugging kids all over the place doing stuff like that. But you didn't see, the wiffle ball game in the backyards and all that stuff. Like
playing in the streets, playing street hockey.
I see that. Kids throwing the football in the street, and I don't get aggravated when I got to slow down because they got to run back to the side. And do it. I'm like, yes, these kids are, they're living, they get a life. They remind me of what I grew up with.
And I'm in West Bradenton, Northwest. I grew up on the island. We're no longer on the island. We have, we kind of just sold our last tie to the island to our nephew. But what you just described was you picturing yourself as a kid doing that.
Correct.
That's what I mean. When you're buying real estate in the state of Florida, and if you are an agent, listen to me out there. If you want to grow your business, find out where their memory lane is.
Correct.
And sell them a house on memory lane.
That's it.
There's a country music song that says that, and when I heard it, it was just like it just punched me in the face. And that's our job.
That's
as
it.
community leaders. Find me that house on memory lane. Shannon and Michael, they do that. I go out there in Halloween. They're all running around, being pulled around, and they were towing a kid behind a bike in a wagon. I'm like, some parents are freaking out. I'm like, let him go, man. Evil Knievel scar.
Oh yeah, and especially, I mean, those neighborhoods Halloween. I mean, that's how I remember. It's like the whole neighborhood's involved. The parents are out there.
That gives me hope for this country.
Correct.
It gives me hope.
Yeah.
That this generation is going to know that.
They know it.
I've got hope. I've got hope, Chris.
And the ones that want it are coming here.
Yeah.
For it. Because they know it. They're like, there's more to it. There's more to life. That's why we came out. So in closing, is there anything we missed, Barry, that you wanted to add to this as we close up and wrap up? I mean, and obviously you can share your contact information, but is there any part of the talks that we should have added into this?
Well, I've alluded to social media a couple of times, and please don't think I'm an opponent of social media. I would just advise people, watch what you're doing. The moment that I found out that young women and some men, when the pandemic happened and since then, have turned to social media to become wealthy. Now, these are not influencers. Influencers I get. It's horrible. And I won't go into that. And I won't name the platform. But it's perverse. Correct. And it's sickening. And what I remind people, no matter how old you are, you're going to leave a legacy, and what are you going to leave behind?
Correct.
So get off the social media, get into the park, start doing the coffee mornings, start doing the meetups. You're going to become far wealthier. You're going to feel a whole lot better. Ignore the world right now. Focus on the happy stuff. And please, for God's sake, be kind.
Yes.
And if you have the time, go to church.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to church if you can. I don't go. I don't need to. But I can tell you, a lot of people out there that I see today, they need to go put their butts in the pews for a little bit, right? But be loyal, be kind, and be committed. I was a Boy Scout. I am an Eagle Scout. I am an Eagle Scout. I am an Eagle Scout. Those same 5 or 6 principles apply today.
Correct.
Please use social media for the tool that it is, and hope to teach your kids that 20 years from now, it's not where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, those are timeless principles. I mean, get out, shake hands, and look someone eye to volleyball. Yeah,
go drink out of the hose.
That's it.
We're safe today.
Yeah, we think, right?
We think.
But I'll drink out of the hose still.
Absolutely,
it doesn't matter to me.
You
But
got it, man.
I really appreciate you, Barry, coming on, spending this time with us. I mean, we had a packed full hour. Sure, we could sit here for another 2 hours and keep going.
We will probably afterwards. We're going to get some coffee.
We're going to go do that. Absolutely, all right, we will. But thanks again, Barry, and everybody. Thanks for watching.
Chris, thank you. I appreciate you and your team are great here.
Thank you very much.
This is a great opportunity. Thanks for presenting.
Oh, you're welcome. It's our pleasure. It's people like you that make me want to get up and do this kind of stuff, because I learned something, and people that are watching get to see something more. And if you have something, if you're out there and we've done business together, or we do business together, or even if we don't do business together, reach out to me. You have a good topic to talk about. We want to share that on this platform. Reach out to me. We'll set up a date, have you on here, but we appreciate you coming on. Like this, share it, do whatever. I know I'm using social
This is a great use for it. No, this is a great utilization of social media.
I like Barry, is this okay?
No, you're good, man. You're good.
But please like our channel. We want to make change and help people make better decisions, and not just with mortgage, real estate stuff, but in general, if we have some good things to add, value adds that we can share with people, that's what we're here for. And we will see you guys all next time. Thank you. Mortgage Matters with Chris, the Gali Lama. I'll talk to you soon.